So thank you everybody for coming tonight and for your interest in Drexel University's College of Computing and Informatics Digital Development Camp. This is our third year camp. The first 2 years have been completely virtual. So this is the first year we are doing an in-person aspect of camp. So we can certainly speak more about that. I'm joined tonight by Tammy Piermann. She is the camp director, academic director. We kind of throw titles out here and there, but she heads up the academics of the camp. Matt Letzenberg is here. He is the recruiting manager for Drexel. I know that's for CCI. We'll open questions later on. I know some people from past years, they directly tie coming to camp to coming to Drexel. So I asked Matt to join us tonight to see if there's any questions about recruitment. I also see that we have some counselors here, some of our camp counselors here as well. I'll have them introduce themselves in a couple of minutes. So let's get started. So again, thank you for coming tonight. Camp this year, like I said, it's our third year camp. It'll run from Monday, July 11th to Thursday, July 18th. Camp will run from Monday through Thursday. It's going to be a 4 full days a week. It'll run from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So there are 3 tracks. So this year our 3 tracks are full stack development, cybersecurity, and data science. Data science is this year is going to be the first year we are doing a data science track. So we are still building it out as we speak, and I'll let Dr. Piermann talk about that in a couple minutes. The full stack track, that's what we started with 2 years ago, where the campers, they build a website, they form a team and they build a website. Cybersecurity track, this will be the second year we do a cybersecurity track. Cybersecurity track is more project based, so they'll do multiple projects, multiple teams. So all the cybersecurity campers will, instead of working in a group the entire 3 weeks, you'll work with different groups for different projects throughout the entire camp. Camp is like it's mentioned, camp is hybrid. So I know there's a lot of questions about that, so I'll talk about that really quick. And if there's any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. I am monitoring the chat, and when Dr. Piermann speaks, I'll monitor chat as well, and I can chime with questions. So there have been a lot of questions about what hybrid means, and we're still defining exactly what hybrid means. Currently, the COVID protocols are Drexel University is mask optional. As of Monday of next week, Drexel University will be mask required. We have to follow the protocols of the city of Philadelphia, so it's mask required. So we are still going to move forward with a hybrid approach, an on-campus and a virtual approach, but we will make a final decision on that by June 1st. Assuming that the mask mandate is lifted prior to that, the on-campus aspect of camp will be like we talked about, be a full day, Monday through Thursday, starting at 10 o'clock to 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lunch will be provided. Campers will arrive around 10 o'clock. We'll have a morning session where there'll be a lesson taught by a CCI faculty member or doctoral student. They'll then break. That'll be about 2 hours, an hour and a half or 2 hours of that. Then break for a lunch. After lunch, there'll be an enrichment session, which I can talk about more about the enrichment sessions in a little bit. That'll be camp-wide. So the first session will be broken into your particular track. Lunch will be the camp will bring together. The enrichment activity, the camp will be together. And then in the afternoon, there'll either be a hands-on activity based on that day's lesson, or there'll be time for the groups to work on their individual projects. For virtual campers, you'll have the same experience minus the lunch. Our classrooms all equipped with cameras, and streaming is pretty easy to do. So online campers will attend all the sessions. They'll attend they'll go to their individual breakout in the morning to attend their lesson. You'll have lunch at your own. You'll come back to the enrichment, and you'll be with the rest of the camp for enrichment. And in the afternoon, whatever the hands-on activity, you will be grouped with. It'll be a mix. So you could be with all virtual students, or you might be mixed with some virtual and in-person students. The camp is run via Blackboard. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with Blackboard. I'll let Dr. Piermann talk about that a little bit more. So everything's structured so that everything is accessible. Everything's the same, whether you're at home or overseas or at the beach or in person. Drexel, especially CCI, is one of the forerunners in online education. So we have a pretty good grasp at the with especially with Blackboard of running parallel sessions where it's the same class but hybrid. So even before the pandemic, we were good at it, and we've just gotten better at it since the pandemic. What a question I've gotten a lot is about sending my child. Why would I send my child versus keeping the child home? Our thinking is, obviously, if you're out of town, if you're not in the Philadelphia area, the virtual option is the best option. We've had applicants from Florida, from the Carolinas, from Georgia, from Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York. Obviously, if you're not around the corner, or if you're not within a pretty close commute, the virtual option is the best. For anybody local, the expectation is there is no expectation. But if there's a question of who would I send my child to camp or not, the idea behind a hybrid for local students is if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, if you have an appointment, or something like that, and you could stay home a day, you'll give us a heads up and you'll stay home a day. Obviously, if you're not comfortable sending your child to the camp, we completely understand that the virtual session, the virtual aspect is available for that. But we would love to have as many campers in person as possible to help the camp experience. So that's a little bit about the hybrid approach. Any questions so far? I see Matt shaking his head, but Matt's in a lot of meetings, so he should know all this already. If there are, just make sure to just feel free to write in the chat. Before I turn things over to Dr. Piermann to talk about academics, I want to introduce a couple of our counselors. I see Emily Wang is here. I see Caitlin Mark is here, and I think there's one more. So Emily and Caitlin, do you just want to say hi real quick? Introduce yourself.
Hey, hello. This is Emily Wang, and I'm a master student at CCI with the data science, which is my major. And I'm gonna graduate after summer. So this is my almost my last quarter. So I'm doing my machine learning feature selections for my research, and also this quarter and next quarter I'm gonna do my capstone. Yeah, and thank you so much. Have this chance for letting me know other people's.
Caitlin, do you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm a computer science major. I'm going to be a rising sophomore during the summer. So I'm excited to work at the camp with you guys.
Great. Thank you both. And the counselors, so I've said it before, I've said it already, but the camp is a part of the College of Computing Informatics. I know there's some other a lot of other camps out there that are housed at a university, but they're run by another company or another company or something. We're not. We are completely run by the College of Computing Informatics. As Dr. Piermann will talk about, she'll talk about the faculty. The counselors are all CCI students. I'm the program manager for events and logistics, so I manage all the logistical support of the camp. So it's managed completely by the college, and it's part of the college. It's one of the college's big initiatives over the last couple of years is to really build this camp up, and that's what we're hoping to do going forward. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Tammy Piermann. She is like I said, she's the academic director of the camp. She'll talk to you about the academics and answer any questions you might have about that. Tammy?
So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Tammy Piermann. I'm a computer science professor here at CCI. I've been here for 4 years. I'm a pretty recent PhD. I'm one of those people who went back to school and got their PhD kind of like midlife. So I've had 2 careers prior to being a college professor. I did 20 plus years in the industry. I've owned several companies. And then I actually transitioned to education, and I've worked 14 years as a high school computer science teacher. So I kind of have had my feet in a lot of different camps. I don't mean camp like this kind, but a lot of different areas. And therefore, I have a lot of background history to draw on for creating this camp and for setting up the curriculum and teaching you guys. Before I get into any specific, camp-specific curriculum, I want to talk about the way that the camp operates and the what's called experiential learning. So Drexel is, one of the things Drexel, if I asked you guys, what is Drexel famous for? What do you think of when you think of Drexel? I would imagine a lot of people might say co-op. So cooperative learning means, in the Drexel's, the way Drexel works, it means that you have academic classes, but they're interspersed with 6-month stints in industry. So you go to classes for a while, you go on a job for a while, and then you come back and take classes for a while, and then you go on a job for a while. And so we have, from the very beginning, we've been very focused on people learn best through experiences more than sitting in an audience taking notes while somebody lectures. So you might have some ideas about what a college class is like. Maybe you've gotten those ideas from media, right? From watching movies, or maybe even from other, people, perhaps people from another generation who have attended college and have told you about their time in college. And they might have told you a lot about lectures. That's not really the way we do things. So in this camp, you're going to come into camp and you will meet faculty members who will give informal talks. They won't be lectures, right? So they'll come in and they'll talk about a topic that they're passionate about, that they're knowledgeable about, and that pertains to the camp pathway that you're in. Our expectation is that that day, you will be applying what you learned about in that informal talk. So you will be actually putting into practice the things that you've heard about. So we have these faculty discussions at the beginning, and then we have lunch, and we do the, what do we call them, David? The
Enrichment
activities. And then you guys come back together, you work in a team. So this is a very team-based approach. Sometimes it's really project-based learning, and it's peer teams. So you will be on a team of some number. 4 is a very good number that we like to use. You'll be on a team of 4 people working on something together. And you'll be applying what you've learned in that afternoon session. We have workshops, which are hands-on experiential learning run by our camp counselors. Those workshops are optional, and we have multiple workshops. So one of the things people, freshmen particularly, struggle with in college is the number of choices you have. You have so many choices of, what am I going to do? Am I going to take this class? Am I going to take that class? How can I want to take 15 different things. How can I fit them in? And you can't. You have to make choices. And that's going to happen to you in camp too, where we're going to have multiple workshops running at the same time. And you're going to have to decide, right? You can only be one place at a time. So you're going to have to decide, which workshop am I going to go to? And your team might actually have some team discussions about, like, well, I'm going to go to this workshop. Can somebody else go to that workshop? So that your team has the knowledge that they need to work on your project. So that's sort of the day to day, just in general, how it works. And then on Blackboard, at the end of each day, you're going to do like a little bit of writing, like a paragraph or 2. We use it for feedback. We are very responsive. So, we will ask you frequently, how are things going? How do you feel about camp? And, it's not like our plans are set in stone for the full 3 weeks. I do want to point out the dates are the 11th of July through the 28th of July. So it's 12 days. And in those 12 days, we might make adjustments based on what we hear from you guys in each of the tracks. Any questions at this point? Okay. So Blackboard is we're going to be using Blackboard and Zoom a lot in this camp. And I do want to say that there's no differentiation between who is coming in person and who is going to be online. And we understand that people who are coming in person primarily might occasionally be online. So when we engage in camp level activities or pathway level activities, you're all treated the same. So for example, when you are forming your team of 4 people, you guys you're all just one, big group of people. And so you may end up on a team with some people who are in person and some people who are remote. And that's fine. This is actually a reality of the workplace today, right? That we are blending virtual participation and in-person participation. And so these are skills that they're worth practicing, right? There's some real good reasons why, even though this might be challenging, it's a challenge worth accepting. It's a challenge worth, working on and getting better at. So with some of the advantages of things being in Blackboard, you can go back and look at them again later. We will be recording everything. So if you had to make a hard choice about a workshop, some of the workshops we will run again so that you might be able to take it later. But if not, you can go on Blackboard and watch the video and you can follow along. And if that's something you really wanted to learn, but you didn't have enough time in camp, you can go back and watch the video. Same thing with our guest speakers. When our guest speakers come in, if there's something you want to revisit, you want to go back and be like, wait, I want to make sure that I actually understand what they were talking about. And this can be particularly helpful after you have applied, after you've actually applied that concept to your project, is often a really good time to go back and listen to that talk again. You'll get a different level of understanding. And so Blackboard just makes this, it enables us to do all of these different things. There is no grade per se for this camp. The only sort of grade is, or the thing that I would ask you for assessment at the end, I want everyone coming into this camp, no matter what level you're coming in, I want you to learn something. Everyone coming into this camp is going to be coming in with different background experiences. Some people perhaps don't even have a computer science course offered in their high school, and they're coming to this camp to explore this option. And while other people in the camp might have had a computing course every year of high school and have had maybe some previous camp experiences or done some work on their own. One of the things that I want every camper to experience is that's okay. That's very real world. When you're working on a team in the real world on a project, everyone doesn't have the same background experience. Everyone doesn't come to the table with the same knowledge, which is different perhaps than what you have experienced in a typical K-12 teamwork or group work scenario where everyone is in the same class, learning the same thing and at approximately the same level of development. That it works well in grades in school, but it doesn't really translate that way to the workforce or to college. So we really do want to give you guys as close as we can, a college experience, and not just a college experience, but a Drexel CCI experience. So this camp that you guys are doing is actually modeled off of CI 102, which is a course that all freshmen in CCI take, regardless of their major. This is obviously it's a much smaller subset. So CI 102 is 10 weeks, and this is 3 weeks, but the way that it's taught and the type of work you're going to do is the same. So this should give you guys a pretty good flavor for what freshman year at CCI would be like. Any questions or comments? Okay, so we have the plan here is that there will be 8 students for each counselor. Our counselors in each track, our counselors are CCI students from all levels, as you saw today when Emily and I've searched Emily and Caitlin introduce themselves. Emily's a graduate student ready to leave, you know, and join the world. And Caitlin is a freshman right now, is going to be a sophomore. So these, you know, that's the full gamut. And our counselors come from the student body CCI. So you will have the opportunity to talk to and get to know CCI students at different levels and from different majors. Each counselor will work closely with 2 teams, is the way that it's intended to work. So you will have a counselor that you really get to know and that you work with pretty closely on your project in the camp. Okay, so I guess the next thing on my agenda is to talk about the 3 pathways. So I'll talk about the first one that we set up first in our first year, which was the full stack development. And I chose full stack development because in this CI 102 course, where the students work in teams to create a project, websites seem to be a very popular project type. And so I decided when we first started the camp, let's go with websites. It's, you know, it's something that we can, that I already know that a lot of students are interested in how to make them. So the full stack track, you guys will come together, you'll do some networking with each other, you'll brainstorm topics like, what is your website going to be about? Who is it going to be for? What problem are you solving? And then between meeting each other and brainstorming some topics, we're going to do some networking where you will sort of form up into teams of 4. Generally, it's teams of 4. Often there's 2 ways this works. Sometimes students just click and they're just like, I just want to work with Jonathan, right? Because I like Jonathan and I think we click. That's fine. And then, you know, people come together and they choose a topic. That's one way it can work. The other way it can work is, you know, I'm really interested in social justice. And it turns out this other person over here is also interested in social justice. So we're both interested in the same topic. We will come together and work together on our project. And then, you know, other people will join based on topic. Both of those ways are totally fine. But at the end of, you know, the second day, you guys, if you're in full stack, you will be in teams of 4 and you'll have a topic. And then the work starts, right? And then you actually build a website. You plan it, you design it, you build it, you test it. It's pretty cool. And on the last day of camp, we have a showcase. And so the full stack students stand up at the last day of camp and they show their website. They talk a little bit about what they contributed, what they learned in this process. Any questions about the full stack pathway? Okay, so I'll tell you something some people are probably thinking but didn't want to say. The languages that we use, so I want to be clear, we're not using Dreamweaver. We are not using a WYSIWYG tool at all. You will build this website in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Depending on your level of knowledge coming in, you as an individual might learn Node.js. You might learn databases and SQL in order to make the site very interactive. If you're coming in and you have never built a website and you have never even looked at the code that makes a website work, it's totally okay if at the end of the 3 weeks you have a website that you build, we call static website, using HTML and CSS. If you already know HTML and CSS, our expectation is you're going to want to learn something in this camp. And so we'll level you up to JavaScript and Node.js. Any questions? Okay, so the next pathway I'm going to talk about is the one that was new last year, which is cybersecurity. So our cybersecurity pathway operates a little bit differently, mainly because cybersecurity is such a broad field, and there are so many like really interesting aspects to cybersecurity that we didn't want teams of campers to be like very, very focused from the beginning on just one aspect. So in cybersecurity, it's more like labs. There are a variety of projects, and you can almost think of it like you'll still do networking, you'll meet each other, and then instead of having you guys brainstorm topics like we do in full stack, you'll be given or you'll be shown a set of labs. Like these are the topics that we have labs for. And they're all doable. You will work, they can be at different levels, and you will kind of come together with a group of people who are perhaps interested in doing the same lab, and you will work as a team to complete that lab. Now, in cybersecurity, you are creating and maintaining a portfolio of work, a website that is your portfolio. That's not a website that you code up in HTML and CSS. That's, you're going to use a tool to create this site, but you will be able to add in there some of your writing, what you've learned, sort of keep track of the things that you've done. And on the last day of the camp, when we do the showcase, you guys will basically stand up and show that website, that portfolio, and you'll talk briefly. You will just choose one lab to talk about briefly, something that you learned. Oh yeah, sample laptop. Oh, there's penetration testing. There's, which is trying to break into somebody's network. There's using Wireshark to analyze network traffic. There's a couple of different tools that you can use to practice some cybersecurity skills. And I have to tell you guys up front, this is not my strongest suit. I almost wish Thomas Hebron were here. He'd be able to help out with some of these. But there's like the red team, blue team type of work, which is defense versus offense. There's Hack the Box. I'm trying to remember them all. There's a bunch of them, but they do. So we have everything from like encryption, breaking passwords. I know there's a thing on social engineering. There's a lot of like phishing emails, things like that. So there's a bunch of different topics. So if you've already done something in cybersecurity, but you're interested in cybersecurity, when you see those labs, you can just mark them off like, yeah, I already know Hack the Box, or yes, I've already done a lab like this. I'm very aware of phishing. So let's just don't do those labs. Pick some of the labs that are, going to teach you something new or give you a brand new experience. So thank you, Mario. Any other questions? Oh, and you guys, everybody in the camp gets a, actually, I shouldn't say that. David, what is the status on our Raspberry Pis? They're in stock. You know what? I'll put it in the, let me find what we ordered, everybody, and I'll put it in the chat. Okay. So everyone gets a Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is critical for cybersecurity students. You really need to have a computer that is running Kali Linux that you can, really mess around on without your parents being upset that you might do something to their computer. So you're getting a different computer so that you can actually hack around with and mess around with cybersecurity safely. So you'll have virtual machines on there that you can break and blow away and reinstall a new virtual machine and just keep going as you're learning. You can't really learn cybersecurity if you have to be really careful about not messing up your computer. So that's why we're going to teach you about virtual machines right in the beginning so that you can, set up multiple virtual machines and just blow away anything, when you're finished.
And even if somebody is virtual, we will be mailing out the machines to them as well.
Yep.
And they're yours to keep in the camp. Yeah.
So that does bring up the, what do you need for the Raspberry Pi? You need a monitor. Even before camp, you can start looking up. There are people, and I am not one of them, but there are people who use their smartphone as a monitor or a tablet as a monitor. I know it's possible, but if you have an actual monitor, you're just plugging in a different computer to the monitor. Nothing you're doing in cybersecurity is going to harm your monitor in any way. So that's fine, but that is an important thing to know. You need a monitor. Any questions about cybersecurity? All right, so our newest track is data science. And I am still writing that curriculum as we go, but as we speak, but I do have the big picture for the data science. What we're going to do in the data science track is actually very similar to the full stack development track, where you're going to network, you're going to meet each other, you're going to brainstorm topics, you're going to come together in a team of 4. But the project, instead of being a website, your project is going to be a data analysis project. And so generally speaking, you're going to want to tell a story with data. You're going to want to help somebody. So, you know, some audience, and I'll just give some, like, a really basic example. You know, say there's an audience that is maybe a very specific neighborhood in Philadelphia, and the problem is, has to do with recycling. And so you want to actually, you know, then you're going to get together and you're going to think about what are the questions that we need to answer, what, you know, what are the data that we want. And so you might end up with collecting data, finding data. We don't have enough time in 3 weeks for you to actually write your own collection model and collect data. But you know, we will go through how to find publicly available data on the topic, clean it up, analyze it, but always remembering that you're telling a story, right? You're only doing this with the data to answer a question or to provide some piece of information to your audience that they might not have. So maybe what you want to do around this one neighborhood in Philadelphia with recycling is, you know, maybe you want to raise awareness of the difference that a neighborhood can make with recycling by, you know, doing their own recycling collection. You know, maybe data on the city's recycling practices compared to, you know, what that particular neighborhood could do with recycling. So you're going to get data very much based on the questions that you're asking. You're going to analyze it. You're going to create visualizations. And at the end of your project, what happens at the end of the data science project is you're actually creating a report using your data visualizations, using the questions that you're asking that's addressed to the audience that you chose about the problem that you chose to deal with. So it could be anything from like care of pregnant women. Like you could go healthcare type. There's a lot of information and data out there on healthcare. The opioid epidemic has a lot of information. You really, it's like if you can think of it, you know, and we can find data, you can use it as your project. So that, and then at the end of camp, you're going to stand. Basically, you're going to stand up, much like the full stack students, and you're going to show your product, which is your actual report, and talk a little bit about what you learned to get there.
So I just put into the chat the Raspberry Pi kit. I don't know if it's the same exact kit, the one on Amazon that we bought them from Amazon, the one we got. The picture's not coming up, so I just Googled what it was. So I think it's the same exact kit, but you'll get something, you'll get that or something very similar.
Okay, yeah.
Question came in, what's technology used? Python, some charting tools, etc.
Yep, we'll be using Python. And depending on guest speakers and workshops that they might provide, I would expect we're probably going to see Tableau. We're probably going to see some, you know, students will get some exposure or have the possibility to get some exposure to different ways to create visualizations, including there's a bunch of Google charting that you can do with JavaScript. So between JavaScript and Python, we might, depending on people's where people are coming in to this program, where their knowledge level is, we might have some starting levels might actually be Excel and some of the things you can do with data in Excel. But for people who are already very comfortable with Excel, we would have Python and then Tableau.
So I also put a couple links in the chat. On our camp website 2 years ago, we have an example from 2 years ago of some of the websites that were built. Some of the campers talked about their websites, and then I'm putting in a link now. Last year, we had some campers talk about their experience, especially in the cybersecurity track, which was new last year. So you'll be able to hear some campers talk about the cybersecurity track as well.
Okay, so any questions about the 3 academic pathways? Oh, I should say all 3 of them are going to end in the final week of all 3. There's going to be a panel of people who are working in that field, so that you can ask questions about what it's like to work in full stack, in cybersecurity, in data science. Okay, well, if there's no questions for me, David, is there anything else you want me to talk about?
No, not right now. Let me jump back in and talk about some of the enrichment activities that we're going to be doing. This is something that last year we're really proud of what we were able to put together, and this year I'm equally proud of what we're able to put together. Like Dr. Piermann said, we want to give the campers as much of an experience as the college students as possible. Obviously, we're at Drexel, so anything college focus is going to be along the lines of Drexel focus, but we try to bring in speakers to talk about the general college experience. So we bring in, obviously Matt and his team come in for a day and they talk about college recruitment. They talk about financial aid and things like that. We also bring in our enrollment management team, the university level enrollment management team, to talk about just general college questions. Matt and his team talk more focused on CCI, Drexel and CCI, talk about the programs, financial aid and things like that. But we bring somebody in from the university to talk more about general college recruitment and applying to college and things like that. We have a lot of different offices and offices on campus, and we try to bring them in as well. Last year, we brought in the Center for Black Culture to talk about some of the programming they had in there. We have a world-class Autism Institute on campus. It's actually one of the best in the country. And within that institute, they have an autism support group. We bring them in. Last year, we had the director of the program come in and actually bring a student to talk about life as a student on the spectrum. Very fascinating. She talked about classes. She talked about getting co-op. She actually talked about getting a job. She actually works in top secret. She worked for she got a co-op at the Navy. She works in top secret security clearance. So we are going to bring them back this year. We are going to work with several student groups for non-college students to come on campus. There is a lot of student organizations, ton of student organizations on campus that you can be a part of. So we'll bring several of them on, either for a discussion or for a hands-on workshop. Some of the organizations I currently have scheduled to come are SWE, the Society of Women Engineers. They will partner with IEEE, which is, Matt, do you know what IEEE is? Or Tammy, do you know what IEEE is?
It's an international engineering organization.
Yes, exactly. So we have them scheduled to come in one day. They're going to actually do a hands-on project with the Raspberry Pi. They're going to do something fun. One of the projects they've done in the past has been they take their Raspberry Pi and they build like a light-up Christmas tree. So we're going to do something similar to that. One that was really popular last year that's going to be even more popular this year, there's a Drexel Gaming Association. The Drexel Gaming Association, they handle all the on-campus games and esports. Last year, we had them come in for a discussion about the different games and esports that they support. This year, we're actually going to have them come in and we're going to run a gaming tournament for one of the days. So I don't know what game it's going to be. I just ran one this past weekend, we ran one with a bunch of fighting games. So I don't know what game we're going to do, but we'll have a prize to give out for that. That's one of those things. I actually have a meeting with the organization next week to find out if we can include virtual students in that. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I will let you know. So we're having them come in. The college has one of the great programs the college offers is peer mentors and dean's ambassadors. Peer mentors are undergrad students and grad students who are available for students to come to at any time to talk about anything. Dean's ambassadors are some of our higher achieving students, and they are hired by the college for support with events and things like that. One of our more popular events that we've done in the last couple of years is a Dean's Ambassador Show and Tell, where the Dean's Ambassadors come in and they talk about college life. They talk about the projects they've worked on, some of the co-ops they've had. So that's just an example of what we're planning for this year. We're trying to lock in a couple sponsors for camp. I don't know if we'll be able to do any field trips this year, but we're probably going to, rather than a field trip, we're going to probably bring in some speakers from external sponsors, SAP, Comcast, companies like that we have talked about, we've talked to. Yeah, so those are the types of enrichment programs. There'll be something, if not every day, almost every day. I know that as we get closer to the end of camp, we're going to try to back off on them a little bit to give the campers a little bit more time to work on their projects. But for the most part, almost every day, there'll be some sort of enrichment program. There's some other things on campus. We have an Excite Center, which is, they do some high tech, they do some really cool stuff with robotics and with music. We're trying to take a tour there. We have a gym. Well, obviously we have a gym. We have a pretty spectacular gym. We want to try to get the students over there one day. So those are just some things that we have planned. Any questions about enrichment or other activities or anything about recruitment or coming to college, or really any questions at all? We're Tammy or Matt, unless you have anything else to add, we can open the floor for questions.
No, not much to add from my part in student services, just that we're going to be woven neatly into the fabric of the camp. So at any point, if the campers are already admitted students who are starting in the fall and want to talk to us more and get some more context about starting in the fall, outside of what they're doing in the camp experience, or perhaps you're, a younger student who just wants to know a little bit more about college. Again, as Dave and Tammy mentioned, you're going to be getting a lot of this. A lot of context is going to be about how to go to college, right? And then how to go to college at Drexel, and all these events are meant to give you context on what college learning can be like, and then also get something out of the camp as well. So we'll be there. But if anybody has any questions that are more recruitment bent, you can definitely ask. And I'll also put my email here in the chat if anyone wants to follow up with me directly.
And I do have an announcement that I can make. If anybody, we haven't advertised it because we just haven't. But if anybody is an incoming Drexel student, no matter what college you're incoming to, if you are an accepted student and confirmed student, we're able to waive the tuition. So I don't know. I know that we have had some applications come in that are accepted CCI student. But if you are an accepted CCI, if you're an accepted Drexel student and you're planning to attend Drexel in the fall, just shoot me an email and we're able to waive the tuition for that. So that'll save you a couple dollars. Sasha, and I see that Tammy answered your question. Yeah, I mean, the face-to-face is meant to be 4 days, but if there's a day that you can't, that your son can't come in, son or daughter can't come in, or they have an appointment or something like that, just give us a heads up, we can easily have them attend virtually for a day or so.
That does bring up, I don't think we actually told them, who the campers are. So this camp is open to rising high school juniors and seniors and accepted CCI students. So, and I think so it's pretty much that 3-year age range, right? So some of the people in camp will be joining us at CCI in September. So this will be an experience for them right before starting their freshman year. And then some students in camp will be going into their junior year or their senior year of high school. Like I said, very different sets of experience will be present in the camp.
And another thing I want to add is, as Tammy talked about earlier, the counselors. The counselors are there for not just help with projects, but they're there to pick their brain on college life. The last couple of years, our counselors have been amazing, they'll be there to answer questions about life in college. What's it like? What's the schedule like? What's the workload like? Things like that. Another thing that we will be doing is we'll have a Discord set up for the campers themselves. So campers and counselors, so they'll be able to communicate with each other through Discord at all time. The Blackboard page, once it is set up, will probably be set up about a week before camp. Yeah, and the campers will get access, and then they'll have access to the Blackboard page, typically at least a month after the fact. So, like Tammy did say that if you're in the cybersecurity track, but you're interested in full stack, you can go back and view all the classes, all the lectures in full stack or in everything in data science, and download any materials that are up there. So you'll have access to the Blackboard shell after camp as well. Any other questions? Do you have scholarships for high school students? Daniel, we don't. If you can shoot us an email and let us know what you're looking for, and we'll see if we're able to provide any assistance. The camp right now, the camp runs on the tuition. Camp tuition funds the camp, so we don't have a ton of extra funds that's available this year. But if you shoot us an email, we'll be happy to take a look and see what we can do to help you out. As far as if that's about camp, obviously, if it's about the university coming to Drexel, there's tons of financial aid available coming to Drexel and other universities as well. But yeah, just shoot us an email and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Any other questions? What should we bring with us in general? A notebook, your Raspberry Pi, your kit. If you have a laptop, bring a laptop. Pen, water bottle. Other than that, we'll provide you with everything else. Like we said, we're a fully functional school. So I mean, if somebody needs a notebook for the day or pens or whatever, we have that. We have on-site tech support. So anything with tech support, we have that covered. Lunch will be provided every day. We'll try to mix things up every day so you don't eat the same thing every day for 3 weeks. But yeah, just the generals, just a computer, notebook, pen, bottle of water to get you through the day. But everything else will be provided. Are Drexel High School scholars included in the Drexel students who get free tuition? I'm not familiar with a Drexel High School scholar. Matt, do you know what that is?
Not directly. Indirectly, I know that that's something that the university does.
Okay. Yeah,
I think we just to look into that.
Yeah, Daniel, if you just want to shoot us an email and explain, I'm not familiar with Drexel High School scholars. Just shoot us an email at ccisummerprograms@drexel.edu, and we'll be happy to look into things and, like I said, see what we can do. Miles, if we're in person, do we have to provide? No, lunch is provided. We have, I mean, being in the city, there's a ton of places to get lunch from. Probably the first couple of days, we'll do something simple like pizza. But as we get to know you a little bit better, we'll customize it a little bit more. Maybe get some salads one day, some sandwiches one day, some paninis one day. Once we get to know you, what you guys want, we'll try to mix things up a little bit. Everything. So we'll have our own dedicated floor. So CCI is in. We're actually off campus. We're about 2 blocks off the campus. If anybody's been to Drexel before. So we're about 2 blocks off campus. I'm in a brand new building. We've been here 2.5 years. We've actually been here a lot less than that because we moved in right before the pandemic. It's a state-of-the-art building. We have 2.5 floors of space in the building. We have our own floor. We'll have the 9th floor space which will just be for us. Included on the ninth floor space, we have our own kitchen area. So if you do want to bring your lunch, there's a refrigerator there. We have 2 large open spaces, which are going to be for teams to just go and work. We have large TVs, large TV monitors, workstations, things like that. So everyone will have a chance to spread out and get some work. And on the ninth floor, there's 2 large classrooms and 1 smaller classroom. And that's where the lectures will take place. So we will try to get you in around the building. We'll try to get you upstairs and take a tour and see what it's like, especially when there are classes going on. Drexel is instead of semesters, we work on terms, so there's always students in the building. So we'll try to move you around the building a little bit so you can see what the school's like. But we'll be on our own dedicated floor. You'll have access to Wi-Fi and all that. For full stack development, will we be learning JavaScript, HTML, and other languages?
Yeah, so for full stack development, if you were coming in with absolutely no experience in developing websites, you would learn HTML and CSS and maybe get into some JavaScript. If you're coming in having, for example, maybe already taken a course or 2 in web development or having done a summer camp in web development, you already know HTML. We will have like advanced HTML, HTML5s and things like that. We'll have some advanced CSS. We'll have JavaScript. We'll have Node.js. We'll have SQL, how to create a database and how to connect that database to your website. So there will be additional topics for those of you who come in already knowing the basics.
Anything else? Don't be afraid to ask. And if you think of something after the fact, you can reach out to us. I'll put our email address in there. I will say, looking at everybody here, I know a lot of you have already confirmed your attendance. If you have not confirmed your attendance yet, space is dwindling. We have space, but it's not as much space as we had 2 weeks ago. So if you have not yet confirmed your attendance or paid the tuition, try to do if you are interested, try to do that as soon as possible so we can certainly reserve your space. On the application, we ask you to identify your top 2 choices: data science, full stack, or cybersecurity. Once the tuition goes through, we send out another link that's a little bit more specific that asks you to identify your number 1 choice. We ask you to let us know if you're planning on coming face-to-face, virtual, or a combination of both. And we also ask you to identify your number 1 choice for camp. So as of right now, we're able to accommodate. So right now we still have a little bit of space. We are able to accommodate everybody's first choice, but as we fill up a little bit, that might not be. It might be a little bit challenge to be able to get everybody their first choice. So if you have not already confirmed your attendance, please do so to make sure you get what you want at a camp.
Yeah, it might be worth it just in talking about the experience. There is a cap. We have a cap on the number of campers in each pathway, so that nobody gets lost. No one's going to get lost in the shuffle here.
Yes. Any final questions? All right, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Tammy and Matt, I want to thank you guys for spending a little bit of time tonight. Counselors, I want to thank you as well. We're looking forward to everybody coming this summer. There will be one other. There may be one more open house. We're not sure yet. I'm seeing if I can get that scheduled, but there will certainly be another for confirmed campers and orientation probably 2 weeks before camp starts. So that'll be available, and we'll get more information about that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to start updating a little bit about the schedule and getting the schedule onto the website. But if you have specific questions about anything, reach out to CCI summer programs. Either Tammy or I will get back to you usually pretty quickly. Yeah, thank you all for coming. If you want a copy of this recording, just shoot me an email. I'll get it to you as soon as I can. And yeah, we look forward to meeting you all this summer. Thanks, everyone.